11 minutes past 8. Many unpaid carers are exhausted and at breaking point after looking after loved ones round the clock over the course of the pandemic. That's the stark warning from charities this morning.
A survey by Carers UK found that coronavirus had led to people losing an average of 25 hours of support every week, with nearly 2/3 saying they didn't know how they would carry on without a break. Jane McCubbin has been speaking to some carers about their experiences.
He can't do anything for himself. An absolute massive stroke on the 14th of November 2019.
Oh, you're having your tea. She needs complete support, emotionally and then physically. And it's all often against her wishes. Do it, Monica. Shut the door. No, not today. Will she hit me? Will she pull my hair? That seems to have just become much, much worse because it's the same every day.
For 43 years, Judith has cared for her daughter, Monica, who was born with profound brain damage.
You ready?
Yeah.
Della's caring responsibilities for husband Jim started in the months just before the first lockdown. And because of the pandemic, both families have had to struggle on their own. You haven't had any support?
No.
Through any of the pandemic?
Nothing.
Are you exhausted?
Absolutely. Sometimes I curl up on the sofa of an evening when Jim's watching TV and I just go out. And then when I wake up, I'm disorientated. I think, oh heck, is it still today? Have I still got my night shift to do? Yeah, absolutely exhausted. Tons exhausted.
A survey on behalf of 5 charities for Carers Week found that almost 3/4 of carers haven't had any breaks from their caring role during the pandemic. Over 2/3 say their mental health has suffered. 3/4 say they are exhausted. More than 1/3 say they now feel unable to manage their unpaid caring role. How are you coping?
Struggle. Always worked. Della's always worked. Nothing now. Nothing. I'd be well dead without a job. Me rock.
Judith's daughter hasn't left the house in over a year. The brilliant respite services they relied on closed because of the pandemic. They've just restarted, but only with 1/3 of the hours available.
Come on, you. Come on. Bring your bag.
Monica's world has shrank to a bedroom she increasingly locks herself in.
When the support stopped, you're prompted to realise how much you just do depend on it. Coming? I don't think so.
Have there been times, because of the pandemic, when you thought, I don't think I can carry on doing this?
There have been times, and some close friends have actually made that decision after 30 years of caring.
Because the services
this
just
has been
fell apart.
Too much for them. And my friend's, her son's gone into a care home and she's distraught. She cries herself to sleep every night.
When was the last time you both went out, though?
August bank holiday last year.
That's months ago.
Bleak. Bleak. Yeah, proper bleak. But he's here. That's the main thing.
It's a lifelong thing that you do because you love them. You love your sons and daughters.
Love sustains them, but charities say carers need and deserve more. Jane McCubbin, BBC News.
That wasn't too bad, was it?
Well, that's the story of just 2 families. Many of them, other people, will be going through the same thing. We're joined now by the Chief Executive of Carers UK, Helen Walker. Thank you so much for joining us. And just listening to their experiences, you really get a sense of the pressure that carers have been under. Just describe it from what you've seen.
Well, yeah, it's shocking. And unfortunately, the stories that you've just heard are very familiar to us at Carers UK. Unpaid carers simply haven't had a break and they're absolutely exhausted. They're simply teetering on the brink right now because the pandemic has made things so much worse for them. And they've been caring behind closed doors. So we heard on your newsreel earlier that NHS and social care workers are exhausted. And they are, there's no shadow of a doubt, but there's an opportunity to clock off. For unpaid carers, there is no opportunity to clock off, and we need to find a way of getting them a break.
Yeah, so just talk about what, a break means really in that sense.
Well, you heard then about respite centres reopening. It's about being able to give carers some money to enable them to have somebody come into the house and look after the person that they care for so that they can get away and have a break and do something for them. I mean, we've got shocking statistics that even if they do get a break, unpaid carers will use that for their own medical appointment, for example. So they put their own health on hold in order to care for the person that they look after on a daily basis. So we need to make sure that they're getting breaks regularly, that respite centres reopen. And I think also there's a bigger piece here, isn't there, about the fundamental reform of social care and making sure that unpaid carers are in the centre of that and are thought of in order to ensure that they are supported as we come out of this pandemic.
Some services are up and running. Do you think are you concerned that they won't get back to where they were pre-pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, 1 in 5 carers have told us that they are absolutely confident that support will not reopen in full. And it isn't. I mean, you heard, I think Judith was that 1/3 there of capacity. Well, we need to make sure that we're opening more of these centres more quickly and more readily and investing in social care that will come into the home and support people like Della.
What about the consequences if this doesn't happen, if they're not given the help that you say that they desperately need?
Well, I think carers will teeter over the brink. And the problem with that is that it's not just one person that the health and social care system has to look after then, because somebody else or some system has to kick in to support the person they care for if there is carer breakdown. So it's really, really important that we get carers a break and we get them a break as soon as possible.
What about people watching this morning who are, finding themselves in really difficult situations? Where can they go for that kind of like first aid of help, I suppose?
Well, of course, they can come to the Carers UK website, and we also have the only national helpline for carers. So that would be a first point of call. In order to find out where they can get help, if you like, we can signpost them to getting that help and support. But it is simply quite shocking that so many people are feeling just on the edge right now, and we need our social care service to step up, I think.
And just specifically, if you could get the government to do something right now, what would it be?
Well, we'd like £1.2 billion worth of funding for unpaid carers breaks. Which would provide £50 a week for those who are providing more than 50 hours of care a week. So it would give them at least a break a week. And I don't think that's much to ask, given that throughout this pandemic, unpaid carers have saved the state £530 million a day.
Thank you very much indeed. Helen Walker, Chief Executive of Carers UK. Thank you. And just to let you know, the government told us it acknowledged the critical role unpaid carers have played throughout the pandemic and said they would have supported them with guidance funding, prioritised vaccinations and access to help. They also said that billions of pounds have been provided to support the adult care sector through this period.